Coming up on this episode of The Extra Mile.
And with this position, unlike some of the other ones I've had within the department, we see the funding, the programming side of it at the very beginning, and we close the project out. So we are with the project for every phase of its life.
One might say on the hook through the whole thing. Huh?
That's correct.
Did you know MDOT spends $3.2 million a year picking up litter? That's money we could use to maintain roads and bridges, patch potholes, and focus on improving Mississippi's infrastructure. It's our job to pick up litter, but it's your job not to litter. Yet 62% of all Mississippi litter is deliberate. We can't do our job if you don't do yours. Visit gomdot.com/don'ttrashms to learn ways you can help. Don't trash Mississippi.
That's nearly $2 billion, and that's money that's going to be spent on improving safety, enhancing mobility, and improving economic growth and development in the state of Mississippi.
Yeah, and with this historic funding from the legislature, new construction will be popping up all over Mississippi.
MDOT presents the Extra Mile Podcast.
Men and women of the Department of Transportation are up to the task and up to make sure that we deliver a product that the taxpayers can be proud of. So I'm ready for us to go to work.
Welcome into another edition of the Extra Mile Podcast presented by the Mississippi Department of Transportation. I'm MDOT Deputy Director of Public Affairs, Paul Catul, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Will Kraft. He is the Director of Public Affairs at the agency. And listen, Will, we are always blessed. We're very grateful to be able to go around the state and talk to guests outside of the agencies. That is always very, very fun. But to me, it's really nice to be able to talk to our own folks sometimes.
Right.
Lots of different jobs that they have here at MDOT, and a very, very interesting job today. We have Mr. Lee Frederick, who serves as the MDOT State LPA engineer. That's LPA is Local Public Agency. Lee, thank you so much for coming in and speaking with us today.
But I really appreciate the opportunity to come out. Really do.
Absolutely.
We've been looking for a good reason to get you guys on. Several of your folks have come by and checked out the setup here and have mentioned wanting to get on an episode. So we appreciate you joining us, man.
Absolutely. Like I said, likewise, I want to throw out the gratitude toward Public Affairs. If it had not been for Public Affairs Division, I'm fairly confident that LPA would not have its current training program, which we are eternally grateful for.
Special shout out Drew Hall there.
Drew Hall. Well, let's just get this thing rolling. I mentioned LPA, Local Public Agency. That's a big term. Can you go ahead and just define that for me?
Well, so I'll be honest. There's a lot of different ways that you can interpret LPA. If you ask some of the folks that work with us, it comes across as kind of a dirty acronym. They may say that we're a large pain and you can fill in the blank. But no, LPA is any of the counties, the cities, the towns, the municipalities, and institutions of higher learning across the state, and we get to help every one of them that solicits federal funding from federal highways.
Very interesting.
So I mean, it's essentially any local, county government. You said universities too. I don't know if I actually realized that they were considered LPA. Probably did. Maybe forgot it already. Okay, interesting.
Right. So we've had an opportunity to go out and visit with Mississippi State, with Ole Miss, I think on a couple of occasions, Southern Miss, the community colleges around the state too. I think we've touched every campus, and if not, we've gotten really close.
So a big, broad category, or I guess list of folks that you guys work with.
Right.
Okay.
Very cool. So, we talk about a lot on the show about how, we handle the state-maintained projects. Those are interstates, highways, bridges, that sort of thing. But in a roundabout way, we do, like you said, kind of work with those local public agencies. So can you kind of talk to us about how you work with the LPAs?
Absolutely. So whenever an LPA goes out and they solicit federal funds, whether it be through a earmark that they get from a U.S. senator, a U.S. representative, and they're granted those funds, we get notification of that. We reach out to the entity, the LPA. We'll say to the top down there.
Hattiesburg, yeah.
To the either Hattiesburg, Southern Miss.
University,
Yeah. One of those entities receives some sum of federal funding. We reach out to them, we activate the project, we enter into a memorandum of agreement, and we walk them through the federal aid process. So a lot of times they will procure a consultant to kind of help with all the design and all the paperwork, the red tape, if you will, that kind of goes along with those funds, and we just try to make sure that every step is followed.
So you guys you're not actually designing or constructing the project, just kind of facilitating the funding of it to the local.
We're just trying to make sure that all the rules are followed. And with this position, unlike some of the other ones I've had within the department, we see the funding, the program inside of it at the very beginning, and we close the project out. So we are with the project for every phase of its life.
One might say on the hook through the whole thing. Huh?
That's correct.
There you go.
Got to stay on top of it.
And so, we're talking roads and bridges, but that's just not what LPA does. So it could even be like sidewalks, right?
That's correct. So we run the entire Gambit. I think we've last year, one of the transportation alternative projects, or may have been 2 years ago, we had like a horse trail down in District 6 that was awarded. We've had, from that end of the spectrum all the way over to the Lake Harbor Bridge that spans I-55. I mean, we have a little bit of everything.
Very cool.
Yeah, and I mean we're gonna get into some of those projects too here in just a second. One thing I want to make sure I mention. So as far as like the makeup of your team, all the folks that do all this work we're talking about. So is it just engineers in your group?
Absolutely not. No. It is a strong team that I have down in LPA division. It's made up of engineers, non-engineers, and everyone that works down there. And I don't mind. I have, let's see, we've got Mitchell Young, my assistant, who is an engineer, obviously the assistant LPA engineer, state LPA engineer. Will Andrews, he is also a relatively new asset to the division. He's overseeing all of the City of Jackson projects and acts as the district LPA engineer with them. Then we have Paula Morgan, Lindsay Killebrew, Donna Ellis, and Callie Rush. And they are pretty much what makes the program run as it should. They are the folks behind the scenes that you never get to see. Or if you have the privilege of talking to them, you actually speak to intelligent folks in my division, which is a blessing.
It's good to have those.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. And then as you expand beyond the administration building here, you have LPA engineers across the state. District 1, you have Travis Wampler, Jeff Wages. District 2, you have Brian Copeland. 3, Lauren Landers. 5, Josh Tillery. 6, you have Chuck Starita. And 7, you have Randy Dickerson and Miss Nellie Wimberly.
Nice.
So the folks around the state that I just named in each one of the respective districts, those are the individuals that will help the entity through the day-to-day activities, getting the project off the ground, keeping it moving so that you don't lose funding, because some of these funds have sunset dates, and that making sure that every box gets checked throughout the process.
Like that,
process.
I'm sure it is a little bit of a burden just having to, be a part of it. And it's not our project, and the funds is going somewhere else, and just adding kind of another layer to it. But in an effort to kind of keep that decentralized momentum, you do have folks spread out around the state. It's not like everything has to come right here. So I'm sure the folks out there appreciate that. But one thing you mentioned, so what do you think your makeup is of engineers and non-engineers, probably?
Within my office, it's 5 out of 8 are non-engineers.
Oh, wow. And that's, shameless plug here for recruiting purposes. Something I feel like I'm made aware of continually. When I came to MDOT, you just think it's engineering. It's a lot of engineers in here. But there are plenty of positions and work to be done by non-engineers. So, just if you think, I'm not an engineer, I don't have any reason to go check out what MDOT's hiring for. Think again. Go take a look. Obviously, we got the Public Affairs Division here. We're not any of us are engineers, but even spread out through some of these other divisions you might think are more engineering focused, you got positions available. So always check out what we got hiring out there.
No doubt. And I want to piggyback on that a little bit. Me and Will generally love our jobs at MDOT. We get to do a podcast. That's pretty cool. So, Lee, I know you've been at MDOT. You've been a consultant as well. So can you kind of give a pitch for working at MDOT, working for the state?
Absolutely. So I had the opportunity as I came out of college, go to work for a consultant, get that level of experience and knowledge. And then you have the recession of '08 hit. And, everybody's going through tightening the belt, so to speak. So I was one of the ones that got laid off. Well, I was fortunate enough to land with MDOT. Had that opportunity, took it, ran with it, was fortunate enough to be in Holly Springs up in the project office, and, just couldn't have asked for a better situation to fall into. Everybody up there, and still to this day, are just truly some of my dearest friends, and they're really awesome. But just through several different opportunities that came available to me and my wife, she had the opportunity to move down south, and we took a position here in Jackson. I got to come to construction division and open up a whole nother area of experience. That being said, working in different areas of the state, working both private and public, there's nothing like work-life balance working for MDOT. MDOT is a family, and you hear everybody
Right.
upstairs. Brad says it. I've heard Brian say it repeatedly, but it truly is a family. Everybody depends on one another. And it's something that you can't pass up the camaraderie. It was something that was very evident in Holly Springs. I mean, we hunted together, we played golf together. It was just a team effort up there all the way around. Same thing when we got down here to construction division. I mean, it was just like breathing. It was that easy. So moving to LPA division, it was just taking up another notch. It's just, we are a tight knit division, because we're one of the smaller divisions. Since I came in 19, I think there was 4 employees.
Oh, wow.
And we've doubled in size within the division.
That is awesome.
Yeah, and you guys are jamming up work down there. We love our LPA folks for sure. As you mentioned, 2019 came on board, so almost 5 years, 4, just crossed over 4, coming up on 5. You got it all figured out?
Absolutely not. McDowell, the guy up in programming, he and I joke all the time, but we're always learning from one another. And it's the same with the work that we do within LPA division. The process, federal aid process, is you've got to have certain items as you go through a project, but how you arrive at those milestones is never the same. And that's one of the things that makes it so interesting.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm sure the regulations and rules and things like that continue to change. You guys got to be on top of it just as much as the actual LPA that's receiving the funding.
Absolutely. So between the rules, regulations, and the personalities, that's what makes life fun.
A lot to learn. So, I mean, you went to school for engineering, right? So, and now you are an administrator, a manager. So, what is it like? What kind of transition is that, going from being an engineer to kind of being big picture kind of stuff?
So, I joke all the time that I am a introvert by education, but by profession I'm probably not. And I think that most folks would tell you that I could talk to the wall, and I think that there's probably a lot of legitimacy to that. So that being said, it was a pretty big transition initially, but after about 6 months or so, it was fairly easy.
Especially when you got all those good people down there.
Absolutely.
To lean on. That's
true.
I would say that's my number one thing around here, man. You got to have good folks, and thankfully they are abundant, no doubt about it. Well, talking about some of the projects, you mentioned some earlier. We have had some social media posts and whatnot talking about LPA division, partnerships you guys have with those. Any kind of favorite or memorable project?
Mercy. There's a couple that stand out. Obviously, each one of them has their own little place in your heart, because you spend time with every one of the entities. You're out on the jobs. You make friends along the way, whether it's a mayor, a city engineer, a council member. And I'm having to go way back a little bit, but from the project office, probably my favorite job to get to work on was the I-22 upgrades from Highway 78 to I-22. Growing up in Northeast Mississippi, I mean, Highway 78 was our lifeblood. It was one of the major corridors and thoroughfares that we used, daily.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a big deal for me. Then coming down here, transition to LPA division. One of the bigger jobs that LPA division had some level of oversight on was the Lake Harbor extension, where we bridged over I-55. There were a lot of lane closures, nighttime construction, things of that nature, and it was a really, really fun, cool project.
It's just so crazy, and to kind of reiterate the diversity. You go from like a horse trail you mentioned earlier to a bridge spanning the interstate.
Right.
Pretty opposite ends of the spectrum as far as a construction project goes, and you touch a little bit of all. That's pretty cool as far as LPA goes. I like that aspect of it. One you mentioned, we were talking about before we got here, and what personally I love, the Hattiesburg roundabout that's just finished up recently. That thing is beautiful.
So Hattiesburg has had the opportunity for several of the safety improvements. We've had several pedestrian facilities that have been installed down in Hattiesburg through our TA program, and just a little plug about the TA program. I know that we may have a little bit of time for that at the end, but the TA program is actually open right now, and we are taking applications through, I think it's October the 2nd.
Okay.
But the TA call is something that the transportation commissioners would have a say in and things of that nature. So there's an online application through our website there at MDOT.ms.gov, Business Center, LPA, local public agency, and then you can find everything right there on the website.
That's awesome. I mean, let me recant that before I say it. We absolutely knew that the application cycle was open and planned this recording as a result.
We pull it up every single day for sure.
Yeah.
But any other projects you want to kind of highlight that are kind of currently going on or upcoming?
Absolutely. So, like Will mentioned a second ago, we are hopping right now. As we're coming into the end of the federal fiscal year, we run around like our hair's on fire, and I would if I had hair. But we have several big jobs that are coming up. Reunion Phase 2 here in Madison County, and the sister project, Bozeman widening. In our own backyard right here in Jackson, we have the Medgar Evers Raise Grant that we're working on. That'll be coming up in a couple of years. North Mississippi, you have the 182 Bill Grant in Starkville that's they're doing some retooling, and that one will be back out on the street advertising here pretty soon. And down on the coast, we're working with Gulfport on that interconnecting Gulfport project that they have, which is a north-south corridor that's just west of Highway 49.
Statewide.
Work everywhere, yeah.
As Will says, wide open.
Wide open. What is that? Orange cones everywhere you look. I can't remember what our little saying was we came up with there at one point. Man, that's exciting. I'm excited to get back out there and see some more of these projects. Like you said, we do spend a good bit of time getting to run around. Hopefully we got to pay more attention to the actual work that's going on. I'm so focused on not getting run over out there.
True.
Shameless plug real quick before we get into the good questions. Lee, how do you feel about litter?
I hate litter.
We do too. And as a result, we got a new litter campaign out there we're so proud of. Paul and Drew and all the folks done a lot of work on. So if you share those feelings about litter, please go check it out. Check out the new webpage, all kind of new resources and info on there. Hopefully you're seeing our ad that's out there talking about how much we spend. And please, Mississippi, don't trash Mississippi. So we love that. But nonetheless, let's talk about food. We like to eat.
You were in, this is kind of my bailiwick a little bit more, being a plus-size gentleman.
Well, start us off here. A nearby restaurant. Is there a hot spot you got to go by at least once a week locally?
Well, if I'm being honest,
I know you're a Mama Hamels guy.
I am, and with that same type of mentality, Pig and Pint is one of my favorites. You can't really go wrong with the barbecue brisket, nachos on skins. Now, if you have a long, like a pretty big itinerary after lunch, probably not going to be your go-to. But it's It is very, very, very good.
I got to keep it light. I'm going to sneak in here with, is it Frisco's Deli? Is that
Frisco Deli,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So maybe not your absolute favorite, but a fantastic place for sure. And the reason I'm going to throw it out here is because I'd never been there and mentioned it, and you took me over there. So you can advocate for the other places, but you also showed me a new one too. What about far away? If you're ever getting out of the Jackson Metro, you got somewhere?
If I'm out of Jackson, mercy. So back then in construction division, we kept a running list of all of our favorite places. And I'm trying to think. There's so many across the state where I've had really good experiences, and I can't really think of a bad experience.
What about back like towards Holly Springs?
So
Back in
honestly, a lot of the places up that way. All right, Ajax. I love Ajax on the Square.
That's fair.
Love it.
It's very fair. It's a great place. Paul loves all things Oxford.
Definitely. Another
Especially
place you
food.
don't want to have anything really important to do after
Right.
you eat there, because you're pretty much spent.
Right. So I'm by nature a creature of habit whenever we go to certain locations. So I know that there are, several burger places that you would go to, or maybe some, but I always make the folks that are with me, they don't really have a choice. I mean, we're probably going to go to Ajax. We're probably going to go, if we're in Tupelo, probably going to go to Harvey's, just because, that was always the treat place growing up. And, I can't really.
Oh, hey,
of any.
if you find yourself, in the passenger seat with Lee Frederick going towards lunch, let go, let God. He's going to take you somewhere good to eat. You can count on it.
For sure. And if you find that list, send it our way. We've got our own running list.
That's
So
right.
listen, the water cooler talk, like we just mentioned, is definitely food and public affairs. And the other part of that is music. We have people that love all kinds of music, jam bands, country, rock and roll. So tell us, who's your favorite or favorites bands and musicians?
See, that's really tough because Will and I have had this discussion many, many times, and I have a proclivity for exactly for the majority of the time country music. However,
Love it.
like on the way in this morning, I think it was George Strait, Merle Haggard, maybe Alan Jackson, and then Howlin' Wolf. So it's just a little bit of everything all over the place. But you got to tie some Mississippi blues in there with anything, especially on a any ride in. You've got to have that one caveat, like where you have strong country, Mississippi blues.
Both of our recent guests, Mallory White, I keep wanting to still call her Mallory Pullen, with Mima. She was super diverse as far as her, the playlist for the ride in. She had all kind of stuff going on. Sidebar: at what point does when does it become country or classic country? Because a lot of those, some of those '90s songs were like 30 years.
So-
That's almost 30 years ago.
So we're not really going to get into that because that gets into age and you get to talking
That's
about
fair.
numbers and things of that nature. So
Very fair.
I'm going to stay away from that.
What about a favorite concert that you've been to?
Favorite concert, hands down, all time Zach Brown Band. My
Really?
wife
Nice.
surprised me with tickets. It's been years ago, but I still remember whenever they came in and the intro for free. The stage went dark. They had the American flag, and they started with a fiddle off on the side, spotlighted. You get chills.
I kind of got chills right now.
It was unbelievable.
Got me in the moment. I felt like I was at the Zach Brown concert right there.
Telling you,
Was
it
that
was-
here?
No, it was actually in Memphis at the
Okay.
Forum.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Fantastic venue.
That's a good choice right there. Good, very, very good choice. So we love country music and public affairs.
That's right.
Even some of us you wouldn't think. We love it. So anyway, we got one more softball before we get in a little, kind of get you out of here. A few more questions for you, though. Mississippi summer travel spot. I'm sure you get out there on the road. Where do you like to travel to in the state of Mississippi?
So, wow. And like I told you before, everything about the division, those were all easy questions because, we're talking about staff and talking about, what we love to do. These are the tough questions with the food and the music and then, the sunny spot that you'd like to go and relax at.
Got to keep you on your toes.
Gosh, I mean, honestly, Mississippi summer spots that I get to go to are ball fields all across the state.
It's fair.
And coming up pretty soon will be volleyball arenas around the state. Little girl is going to start playing volleyball here pretty
Okay.
soon. So even in the heat, I'll be able to beat it with the indoor volleyball facility.
I got no hops. Volleyball was not in the cards for me. Never was.
No, being the size guy I was, that vertical was not very high.
They're already up there over the net, man. Just reach up.
There you go.
So, okay, yeah, plenty of ball fields. That's very fair. It seems like it's an appropriate time, too. I continue to see Facebook and Twitter. Everybody's at the ball fields right now.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just that time of year. A shameless plug here, Paul. If you want to throw the summer travel, check out the app. Anytime you're going to be making plans, see what projects are going on. You get on there and see about road closures and stuff coming up. And then on that similar note, it is summertime. We are traveling, but it is also the midst of hurricane season. So just keep an eye on the weather out there, especially if you're going south. I don't think there's check the National Weather Service for the latest on the weather, not MDOT, but I don't think there's anything brewing in the Gulf right this moment, but certainly be aware of those. And for our coastal folks out there, check out the resources that we have on the website as far as hurricane prep, things, that honestly, it's part of our duty here. We talk about hurricane prep, and it seems like every year we get back around to this time of year, and there's things that I have not thought about in a while that we need to check up on.
I'm going to tell you, before we ever, as we set our itinerary up to go across and visit projects throughout the state, one of the first things that we always check, we have the app, and we always check the website just to make sure, there are no traffic notifications before we hit the road.
I love it.
No doubt. And people call us and ask about, road conditions stuff, and I always tell them, look, download the app in the Google Play or Apple Store. Go to mdottraffic.com, because this is the same information we're giving you is available to the public. So go get that. And then talking about hurricanes, the website there is gomdot.com/hurricanes. So please, if you're in South Mississippi, go ahead and check that out right now. Plan your evacuation route. But anyway, Lee, thank you so much for coming on the show with us. Can you throw some contact information out there? Maybe shout out to your team?
Absolutely. I want to thank them first off for everything that they do. I mean, it's really unbelievable that we are able to oversee the number of projects and the various types of funds that we oversee without having a solid team, and it really is unbelievable. So downstairs to all of you, Will, Mitchell.
Other Will, not me.
Yeah, no. Will Andrews, Mitchell, Paula, Lindsay, Donna, and Callie, thank you so much. Around the state, Brian, Travis, Jeff, Lauren, Josh, Chuck, Randy, and Miss Nellie, y'all are more awesome than I can express.
I'd give you a round of applause just for being able to remember all those names and recite them. That's good stuff. The man likes y'all out there.
Yes.
Absolute rock stars. Well, Lee, again, love to have our MDOT folks on. Thank you so much for coming in and talking with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
No doubt, for sure. So we'll just wrap things up right there. Our listeners, our people that watch the show can visit gomdot.com/the-extra-mile to check out the episodes. Remember to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. @Mississippi DOT is the handle. We'll keep you up to date on all things MDOT. We always want to thank our editor, Drew Hall. He does everything behind the scenes for us, does a fantastic job. Without further ado, remember to drive smart out there on Mississippi highways. Please do.